I'm guilty of this too, because I wasn't a member of the jury. Neither were you. Neither was majority of the people.
I'm gonna go with 100% of this live chat was not part of the jury.
Right. And so the case was not, I should say the defense of Rick Cho was not, Mr. Cho shot Cyrus over water bottle. But that's what you hear people say.
Right.
But that's not what the defense was. And that's not what the case was about. The defense was very succinct. It was, this kid, Cyrus, had a gun. Rick Cho testified truthfully, according to the jury, that Cyrus pointed the gun at Andy, Rick's son.
Mm-hmm.
The jury also heard and believed Rick Cho's testimony that Andy's life was in imminent danger. And the jury heard and believed that Rick Cho testified that he fired to defend and save his son. That's the logical train here. And when you break it down like that, it doesn't matter if people reading it in the news later think that Rick was lying or not. We could believe that the jury got this wrong, but the case is not a store owner murdered a black kid over water. That's not what the story is. That's not what the jury heard. The jury heard that somebody had a 14 or 15-year-old kid had a gun pointed at the store owner's son. And in that moment, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to say, okay, now here's a Snickers bar, put the water bottle down, put the gun down? That's the universe we're in right now. And those are the facts. So people can comment and say, you know what, we believe the justice system failed us. But let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the facts that the jury was presented with. Now, it'll be interesting to see if there's an appeal and what the basis of that appeal was and what happened. But and I'm saying in Carmelo Anthony's case, right?
Oh yeah.
And personally, I know the parents have said that they intend to appeal. I don't think there's any appealable basis here. We'll see. People say they're going to appeal all the time. But these cases have different outcomes because the facts are very far apart. And that's something as a lawyer, I think it's very important for people to understand.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say very heavily that these are not the same case. You can't expect the same outcome.
Let me. Okay, now we have to jump back to the Carmelo Anthony. So you keep making us go back to Texas. So we have to get some barbecue over there. All right. So people don't realize that just because Beard sued me and lost, and now wait, I'm sorry. I committed a crime against Beard. So we're in court and I'm found guilty and I have to go to jail. I appeal. You don't just get an appeal because you don't like the result of the trial. And I don't think people realize, well, no, I'll take that back. I know people don't realize that. It's really, as you mentioned, you said something procedural, or was there an error or something that needed to be objected to? If there was something, Beard brought in some phony evidence and my lawyer objected to that evidence, but the judge still allowed it, that's something that they can look at. Say, well, wait, Beard brought in this makeshift AI video of me throwing gerbils at him, and it's fake. Why did the judge allow it? But not just because we don't just get an appeal because I don't like the result. And well, I don't like wait, you found me guilty? No, I want to appeal. No, you don't do that. There had to have been something truly that was wrong. And I don't think people realize that. They just feel like you just get a run back because you just don't like the result. And that's what we're hearing a lot of people say.
That's right. It's an error of evidence. It could be a mistrial based on something the jury relied on that they shouldn't have relied on. We've had cases where we find out that somebody was talking to the jury, or somebody came into the jury deliberation room, or something crazy. But you don't win an appeal because you don't like the outcome. That's
right.
The unfortunate risk you take.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing. A lot of people, again, they don't like the result, so they're going to appeal. But then also I realized people don't realize how long an appeal takes. You can file, like, literally, let's say me and you are in court and I lose. I can immediately pass them a note, not a note, but file, say, hey, I intend to appeal this because you allowed this AI video of me throwing gerbils at Beard and it was false. But I don't get the appeal like the next day. I still got to wait for. Is it fair to say it's kind of like they got to still close up business? They still got to end the trial. They got to get the transcripts. They got to get all these kind of things in place. So it takes like 30 days, sometimes even longer, depending on how long the trial is, to get everything ready for the quote unquote appeal process for the appellates to actually look at whether or not something was really wrong during the trial. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
And I feel like a ton of people don't realize that. They just feel like, we're going to get an appeal next week. Like, no, you're really not. It could probably be, at best, it might even be Christmas before you actually see anything resembling an appeal. And even in that, it still has to be things that are wrong.
And I should say this. I wish Rick Cho, that was a tongue twister, did not shoot this kid. I do.
Oh my gosh.
I wish he didn't. I don't think it was necessary. I want to say that. The question before the jury was whether Rick himself thought it was necessary to use lethal force, and do the facts prove beyond a reasonable doubt his defense when he says self-defense. And the jury said, yes, we believe that Rick Cho believed his son or himself were in a risk of imminent death. They believed his story. They didn't like the fact that a kid had a gun, that he pointed a gun, that he could have shot without hesitation. And again, I don't endorse the fact that this kid had to die. It's extremely unfortunate, especially in these juvenile cases. Yeah. Yes, he shouldn't have had a weapon, but I don't know the circumstances of his family, where he came from, what happened. Okay. But it's a horrible thing that a young kid had to die this way, and that there had to even be a criminal trial to begin with. But unfortunately, this is the outcome. And look, I kind of understand. I kind of do understand when people say, I'm outraged. That could have been my kid. I kind of understand that. But on the flip side, where the hell did this kid get a gun from?
Yeah, I stopped doing that. You might not know this, but I'm Black, and I have little Black babies. And my mom and my dad, my brothers and sisters, we're all Black. No, it would never have been my child. I'm sorry. No, because my child's not running around here with guns. No, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to put myself in that mix. Nope. That's you all. That's your child. That would not have been my child. Period. End of story. To have a gun and be comfortable enough to pull it on somebody, that would never have been my child. No. So I hate when people do that, because they try to use, and we do this as Black people. We love using this collectivist language. Like, all of us believe this. No, we don't. I don't believe that. I don't believe that children should be carrying firearms, period. I also don't believe that children should be stealing. So no, it would not have been my child.
But by the way, it's my understanding that the prosecution sought charges for premeditated, first-degree murder, premeditated.
On Rick Cho?
In the Cho case.
Okay.
All right. The reason why I think the prosecution made a mistake is because the burden of proof to show premeditated murder, first-degree murder, is much more difficult. They could have, and probably would have gotten much farther with a manslaughter.
I was going to say reckless manslaughter.
Yeah, some kind of, reckless disregard for human life. That, hey, you know what? We understand that this kid had a gun and that it was pointed, but did you really have to shoot? Wasn't that reckless? You chased him out of the store. Where was I don't know. This is just me. If I was a prosecutor, I probably would have brought some sort of manslaughter charge versus premeditated murder.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.
I don't think, right. I don't see premeditated murder here.
Yeah, I think that was much. You know, it kind of leads into this question I have, and feel free. We've kind of talked about it. What legal lesson should the prosecutors and the defense attorneys take away from the Cho acquittal that the public may have completely missed?
Yeah, well, I think the elevator pitch version is, look, a South Carolina store owner shot and killed a 14-year-old after an encounter in his business because a gun was pointed at someone. And when you understand that your life or someone's life, like your son or daughter or parent, could be over, you're going to act quickly. And acting quickly may be the wrong decision long-term, but in that short-term event, it might be the best thing. And you may later even turn out to be wrong, right? Like in these cases where somebody points a gun that was painted and it was a water gun. The question is not, was it a water gun? The question is, did you think your life was in danger? And objectively, were you unreasonable? And it's extremely important for people, and I'm speaking more for the general public here. I think it's important to understand what that is like when you stand in the shoes of someone who is likely to be killed versus what I think Carmelo Anthony's case was about, which is this kid shouldn't have had a knife, and he clearly acted in a very deranged way, because stabbing someone in the chest is not the answer to a fist fight. I don't care what the guy said to you or how he hit you, unless you were literally being choked to death, which is not what happened.
Nope.
The jury got that one right. Got the Karmelo case right. The other thing with what's misunderstood about the Rick Cho case, I think, is kind of what you're getting at. And I think people, I've said this in a different way earlier, I think people confuse acquittal with endorsement. And a not guilty verdict doesn't mean the jury approved of the chase by Mr. Cho and this 14, 15-year-old kid, or the shooting. It just means that the prosecution failed to eliminate reasonable doubt under the theory that they were bringing the case. Now, listen, parents may bring a civil case against Rick Cho.
We might, yeah.
This could be an OJ situation. All right. That's yet to be seen. It could be a wrongful death case. Might be a great case. And message to prosecutors, look, particularly in big cities, prosecutors tend to be very talented, especially in murder cases. You don't put somebody who just came out of school on a case like this.
Right.
Politically, it means a lot, right? Enforcing the laws. Don't be overzealous either. I think the mistake that was made in that case, in the Cho case, is prosecutors probably should not have brought a first-degree murder case. They probably should have brought a lesser case, a lesser offense. And I think being overzealous and saying we're going to teach them a lesson, they didn't look at the facts close enough. I think that was the mistake.
I can dig that. I like that. I guess my takeaway from this conversation in this series of questions is what you said. Did somebody have to die to resolve this issue? I think that's a fantastic question to consider. Did somebody really have to die? And I don't know if it applies in every situation, because sometimes the crime shouldn't even happen. But in this situation, same thing with Carmelo Anthony's situation, nobody needed to die. All you need to do was, I feel, let the kid go. Like, okay, fine. Now, again, I don't know if he literally had, the weapon to your child's head, then maybe all bets are off. Okay, I don't know all the ins and outs, but like Carmelo Anthony, that's a hands down. Just leave. Just get out of the situation rather than exacerbate it. and touch me and find out. Y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of peas. Yeah, and you had the weapon in your bag already unsheathed. Yeah, you had bad intentions, in my opinion, from the start.
Yeah.
But no, that was good, man. Thank you. All right, you ready? You're gonna have to floss after this one, Beard. You have to get the toothpick out because we're gonna go to Candyland. We gotta talk about Candace. Let's go. At what point did investigative commentary cross the line into potential defamation? This is your wheelhouse. What am I talking about? And do you think Candace Owens is approaching that line in any of her current disputes? And we're talking about her versus the Macrons, Brian Harpole. I'm sure there's more of them coming. So, and maybe more have even come. So any of that, do you think she's gone into defamation? What do you think?
The short answer, I know, man.
That sigh was epic.
Let me breathe some context into this real quickly. Whenever somebody asks me a question of did someone cross the line, like we just talked about in these other cases, I don't look at their politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at their religious beliefs. I don't look at what school they went to, what hood they grew up in, what kind of car they drive. I go right to the facts. I put my lawyer cap on. I read the words on the paper and I think. And Candace has crossed the line a few times. And here's the problem. And I'm a big advocate of free speech. I have clients who are content creators like yourself, big bloggers, people who are on the front covers of magazines, celebrities of the internet. And I want them to have as free a voice as possible. And I really believe that the public deserves to have discourse, especially on key issues, like in the Harpole versus Candace Owens issue, which was about, Charlie Kirk getting shot, right? And he was an important public figure, and it was an important issue for our country, and law enforcement failures, investigative failures. Commentary on this is important.
I agree.
But she crosses the line when she insists that her opinions are not opinions, but facts.
Right.
And that's the problem. If I want to present to you a theory, it's just a theory. Okay. I always like to make fun of people who think the earth is flat. I always like to, because it's the easiest for me to make fun of, because I think, I won't insult them, but if you literally think the world looks like this,
it's
this
not
chocolate bar here that I'm holding.
That's a serious chocolate. That's a serious chocolate bar there, my friend. Hey, you're about to do some damage.
100% cacao. All right. And I am eager to try this thing out. It's here in Albania. No, but look, here's my point. You can theorize that the earth is flat. You could theorize it's a triangle. You could theorize it's a pentagon and a sphere and it's a cube and all you want. And you could lay out all your reasons. Oh, have you ever, I love this one. Have you ever looked out the window or of a plane and all you see is a straight line and da 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 da. You cross the line when you say things like this. I have proof that NASA has fed everybody lies, that all of the pictures of the earth are actually AI images. And NASA knows the earth is flat, but they want you to believe that it's round for some strange reason, because apparently somebody's profiting off the earth being round. I don't know. But
I guess
when you say statements like that, or like, John Smith over in the NASA telescope division has fabricated the images, you've totally crossed the line. It's not a theory anymore. You're saying things that are capable of being proven true or false. That's the test. For whether it's an opinion. So when you say things like, for example, Brian Harpole he had knowledge that Charlie Kirk was not going to be alive, and therefore didn't plan his security for the next event that he was supposed to speak at. That is not an opinion. That's a fact. Okay. When you talk
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How would you say that statement right there as an opinion? Because I agree with you. That is a fact. How would you say it as opinion? I just want to hear what it might sound like.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy anyway, but
what I would say is I would ask the question. I would ask the question. I would say, hey, what do you think about this? Why is it that, and by the way, I don't even know if this is true, that Charlie Kirk's forthcoming speaking events didn't have security plans. Okay, let's just say that's true for the purpose of our conversation.
For sure.
The way I would say it is, right? I'd say, hey, has anyone thought about why security was not secured for forthcoming flights and forthcoming speeches at these universities? Wouldn't it have been important if you're the head of security to make sure that these things are done, particularly for a controversial person in this politically charged climate? Why wasn't it done?
But you stop right there, so you don't make the determination that they must have been in on it. It was a plot or anything. That you're just asking the question, leave it right there.
And if you want to ask more questions, you can. But what I wouldn't do is say Brian Harpole knew that Charlie Kirk would not be alive. Because by saying that, you've crossed the line. That's the problem. And you can argue why your version of a story or theory, again, to go into the flat Earth phenomenon, why you think the Earth is flat and why you think NASA is all in on this conspiracy. But the moment you start saying that John Smith over at NASA is destroying all the pictures of the Earth that show it's flat, you've got a problem. Okay.
Correct.
And I mean, she said on her podcast in black and white, and it's alleged in the complaint. Okay, and this was said in her January 8th, 2026 podcast episode. Because remember, she's done a series now.
She's done several, right?
Right? She's doubled down on it. She said, when you lie a lot, when you're planning things you're not supposed to be planning, as in the next day you expected Charlie to make it to September 11th, you would have been communicating about what he was doing up at the Cyrus Bible College, basically implying that Harpole knew that Kirk would be dead by September 11th and therefore didn't have a need to plan security.
Wow.
And so you can draw, look, whether, now this is getting into some defamation law, but generally speaking, it's uniformly accepted as law in all jurisdictions that it's a two-step process on whether a statement is, whether a person can be found negligent or having made a statement in reckless disregard for the truth from a defamation standpoint. And what we do is the judge first determines if the statement is capable of defamatory meaning on its face. Is this statement an opinion? If I call Brian Harpole a jackass or a piece of shit and he's an idiot, he should never have been in security, those are all opinions. I can say those things with zero liability, okay?
Gotcha.
And people should say those things if they want to.
Okay.
Judges determine whether those statements are opinion or statements that are capable of being proven or not. Judges make that determination. A jury determines whether the statements, assuming a judge says, you know what, these are capable of being defamatory. A jury decides whether the meaning was conveyed, the defamatory meaning was conveyed. Why am I saying that? Well, we just talked about in criminal cases how there's a burden of proof and how the burden of proof is high. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's the jury's job based on evidence to decide who met their burden. Even though we're on the civil side, there's a similar burden. It's a preponderance of the evidence standard. It's a 51% likelihood standard versus like a 75 or beyond a reasonable doubt, which is high. The point is this: a jury decides whether in a civil side, in a defamation case, whether the statement conveyed defamatory meaning, whether the statements Candace Owens is saying actually conveyed that she's speaking facts about Brian Harpole. Okay. And she has said a lot. She said, I've made 6 buckets of information. And in all of the buckets of information, she said, I think there's some that are worse than others. But she's definitely crossed the line. I think a jury could conclude that statements she has made cross the line into statements of fact that are absolutely false. And, but there are other things she may have said that she may get away with. Okay.
Right.
So here's the problem. All right. Look, Candace Owens is making a shit ton of money on this.
She's making quite a bit.
And and again, you're allowed to make money. It's a free market system.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes wish I could just make that kind of money just talking shit about people online. That would be great, right? Wouldn't it? But
it wouldn't be bad.
This is another reason why the cost of a microphone should really be like $10 million, because certain people shouldn't have a microphone. And I feel like she is taking advantage of the fact that she has an audience who trusts her. Because look, I don't disagree with everything that she's ever said, but I don't have to agree with everything she says either. I can be critical. And this is where I think people get things wrong. I don't categorize people. Do I like this person or not before I decide whether their statement's defamatory or not?
Got it.
I don't decide, is this person conservative, liberal, Republican? I do not care. It doesn't even fall on my radar when I'm looking at the legal side of things. The problem is, Jay, that we are in a politically charged environment. And the second that you turn something into red shirt, blue shirt, I can control how you view the credibility of that statement. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm right there with you.
And so Candace knows this. She's not stupid. She knows the political balances and imbalances of things, and her messaging is chock full of it. And so when she speaks, she's not a news reporter. She's an editorialist. And as an editorialist, as an editorialist, you are allowed to put gloss to a degree and opinion. But again, if you're editorializing things, then you can't be writing front page of the news claiming it's news and that it's factual and that people should believe it.
You need to stay on the editorial page.
Stay on the editorial page.
Right.
But the problem is you have so many eyeballs and so much money to incentivize. Look, you have data and analytics on your platform. Every creator does. You know what does well. You know which guest is going to do well and does well. And you know what gets clicks. You have a good idea of what your audience likes. She has a very good idea of what her audience likes.
Right.
And she's played that card. And to her credit, she's played it well. And if she's the kind of person you might want to appoint for business strategy, perhaps not legal strategy.
Right.
But she seems to know what she's doing to make the money roll in, because apparently her key audience loves her.
Yeah. To substantiate your argument there, again, and I encourage the audience, the best live chat on the internet, think about the content creators that you enjoy watching. Hopefully I'm up in the pile, but if not, I'll accept that. What do they put out? Do they put out the same type of content? Do you notice even a formula, even, dare I say? Or is it just all around, but it has the same theme? And you can tell Candace understands that. Candace understands, as Beard just said, she totally understands her audience, and her audience likes the slop that she puts out. And I'm giving editorial, but they like that. That's clearly what her audience wants. And they like that conspiracy theory. That's why she doesn't talk about Silver Yeti cups, because her audience is not interested in that. Her audience is interested in what she puts out. So that's to your point. You're right on the button. Now, I do want to ask you a question about the Macron case. And I did not send you this question before because this information came out actually about noon today. The Macron case was supposed to be determined whether or not it was dismissed, was supposed to come out on the 22nd at 10 o'clock even. I had a couple people who had a countdown timer and everything. Well, Beard, much to our chagrin, we got this message today that the motion to dismiss has been moved to the 27th of July. What in the world? Because you do realize that nothing has happened on this case since January 9th of this year. So almost better than 6 months. Nothing has happened on this case. This dismissal motion just keeps getting kicked down the road. What is going on?
Yeah, what's interesting is I didn't check the docket before this call, but I'll believe you if that's what happened.
Yeah, this is it right here. Yeah, this is the docket.
Yeah.
And again, you see right here, Macron versus Candace. Let me make it a little bit smaller. It was filed on July 23rd, 2025. Defamation, case schedule order, and let me scroll down to the bottom so you can see that this was the motion. Now they're saying is rescheduled. No, I'm sorry. Here it is right here. So it was supposed to come out on the 22nd right here, and they moved it. Is there a reason why? Why do they keep doing this, man?
Yeah, that's interesting. I see that. Motion to dismiss and strike event continued, rescheduled. I'm looking at the docket entry right before it, and it says notice of motion to dismiss and to strike, first amended complaint to be heard. Go back, notice of withdrawal of counsel. So
yeah, that's when she had an attorney that bailed on her. I remember that.
Yeah, that was April 23rd, 2026. So it could be that counsel who's arguing the motion requested the additional time. That could be it. It's really hard to say what happened. Remember something. Now, this is let me just go back and double check this.
Oh, yeah.
This is happening in Delaware, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's some courts that on their own volition will move things around based on the judge's calendar and things that have to be more urgent versus less urgent. Motion to dismiss in a civil case, and believe it or not, the case is still early, just based on the scheduling of things that I've seen. It's probably just not a high priority for the judge. On top of, I don't see that there was I don't see that there's a request or a stipulation filed. It looks like the court just moved it.
Everyone, they're just dragging it out, man. They're dragging it out.
Who knows what's going on? It could be a coincidence. I'm just looking at the docket. The fact that I don't see that the parties asked for the continuance. Typically, even if it wasn't by motion, if the parties got together on a call with the court and said, look, Your Honor, we want a continuance of this motion and this argument for XYZ reason, there would typically be a docket entry that said, there was some sort of huddle with the court, with the judge, and somebody was requesting it. This looks like, I could be wrong, this looks like the court did it on its own volition.
6 weeks though?
Yeah.
Not move it to like next week, but next month plus some.
The judge, it could be that the judge in this case, Sheldon Rennie, may have had a jury trial.
He going fishing.
Yeah.
He's got a vacation. I'm sorry. Let me leave him alone. He might come get me.
By the way, let me say this. I think some of the statements, just reflecting on my prior thoughts, I do think that some of the statements may get dismissed as purely opinion. Okay. I don't think that's going to be, because look, I've talked about this before and I've done content on this before. Tennessee has an anti-SLAPP statute. And for those of you who are not familiar with anti-SLAPP, right, it's an opportunity for a defendant who's being sued, in this case, Candace Owens, to get a case dismissed very early without it going to discovery on the basis of saying, look, your complaint doesn't have merit because the statements at issue are protected by the First Amendment free speech rights. And they're either true or they're protected opinion and you don't have a case. And so thus far in this case, all we've seen is an amended complaint. There was a letter in support, there's motion practice on the motion to dismiss. There's been a lot of that. And thus far, that's effectively it. So the judge is considering carefully, whether this case should continue as it's currently on the docket, meaning according to the First Amendment complaint, should it
Right.
continue at all? And should it continue in some other marginalized form because some of the statements are opinion? And look, I wouldn't be surprised if portions of these of the First Amendment complaint get stripped because they are too close to opinion. And the judge thinks, as a matter of law, I don't think somebody could find this as defamation. I don't think this is capable of reputational harm. So it's a smart move for Candace's team to file this kind of motion. I would have filed it too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. So let's just say the Beard bat phone rings today, and it's Candace Owens on the other line. She said, "Beard lawyer, I'm wondering what I should do. Should I continue doing this, or should I make moves and pivots in different directions?" Would you tell her to keep pushing with these investigations publicly, or begin dialing it back some, and especially on some of the claims while these legal fights are going on? You got the Harpoles, you got the Macrones, you got other ones coming down the pike. If you would, why? If not, why not? What would you tell her? She's just asking for counsel, not you to take on like a signing on, but she just wants some advice.
Here's what I'm going to say. The lawyer's, a good lawyer at least, is going to consider the client's objectives first. And so I ask Candace, what are your objectives here? What are you trying to accomplish? And if her answer is, well, her answer could be, I want to make as much money as possible, and I don't care. I'm ready to foot the bills. My market loves it. They love that I'm being sued. They think that I'm totally in the right. It's raking in the dough. I'm selling shirts. I'm selling hats. I'm selling subscriptions. So, Rice, keep me in the game. I want you to continue to defend. Here's the next month's retainer in advance, and you tell me what I need to do to keep it going. And you know what? That's not a bad strategy if that's your objective. It's all based on what the client's objective is. So, personally, I would say this. I would say, look, stop talking about this case. Stop talking about Brian Harpole. Or at a minimum, pivot to something else related to Charlie Kirk. But don't talk about the case. I do think it would be foolish for her to talk about the litigation. When I say the case, I mean talk. I think it's foolish for people while they're in litigation to talk about their litigation, because everything they say is going to come up in discovery to say that this person has demonstrated actual malice, knowledge of falsity. We told them what they were saying was false. They had the facts. We've been giving them the facts, and judge, they're still going off. It's just too risky. So I think a prudent lawyer would say, dude, pull the plug on this Harpole stuff, like in the case, like just stop.
And would you probably same thing with the Macrones and other as well? Is that what you would say the same thing with Harpole and Macrones? Yeah, even if you think some of that stuff's going to get thrown out?
Yeah, I think, again, I would say at a minimum, stop talking about the litigation. I would say, Candace, don't talk about these cases. If you want to talk about a new reason why you believe Macron's wife is a man and runs a trafficking ring and all these crazy things, then fine. Don't talk about your own case.
Okay.
But the most prudent answer is just stop. Like, pull the plug on this stuff, man. Like,
yeah, just stay quiet. I can dig that. I can dig that for sure. All right. So as we round these bases, Beard, I got one more for you. Which of these three stories, the Carmelo Anthony, Rick Cho, or the Candace Owens litigation, do you think has the best, or rather the most misunderstood by the public? And what are people getting wrong as an overall?
Yeah, I think I have maybe two angles to this. Carmelo Anthony's case absolutely demonstrates that stabbing someone in the chest, that's deadly force. Whether you intended to kill them or not, it is deadly force.
Right.
Was not justified under the facts. Period. Done. It's that simple. And people are getting wrapped into well, he's a this type of kid, lives in this community, and he grew up like this, and he's afraid for his life. And I've heard people say, if you come up to my kid and you say this, and I'd say, if somebody come up to your kid and even threw a punch and you stab them in the chest, your kid's going to go to prison. I mean,
right.
I don't understand why it's not black and white for people. So I think that's misunderstood. I think people are getting that wrong, that it's unjustified. The facts presented to the jury demonstrated the conduct was unjustified. Maybe there's a different version of these facts, Jay, in some other universe where Carmelo Anthony was right in what he did. Definitely is not what happened in the courtroom.
No.
Second thing is, I do have, with respect to the Rick Cho case and his acquittal, I do have reservations about him shooting a 14, 15-year-old kid in the back. 100%, I said it already. But you got to understand, and the public is misunderstanding, that the question is, did the prosecution meet their burden of proof?
Correct.
On premeditated murder. And the jury says they did not meet that burden because the defense, they believe, met their burden to show that he believed that the use of deadly force was necessary, that he reasonably believed that he had to use at least that amount of force to save himself or his son. And make no misunderstanding, whether the jury loved the fact that there was a dead body as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid that was dead, whether the jury loved that fact or not is not relevant to whether they believed Rick Cho's story, credibly believed his story, that I thought my son was going to die and I had no choice. I think those are two big misunderstandings. And again, look, the law's full of gray areas, and I really hope the jury got these things right. You know, I really hope that the jury got these things right. I think based on the evidence they did.
I'm right there with you. I guess my only thing, not my only thing, something I took away from this is we cannot try to conflate other cases and just make them a one-for-one, apple-to-apple overlay for another case.
That's right.
Even though there's some very key elements that are, there's a lot of similarities here, that there's not, especially when we're talking about somebody 2 time zones over in other states, different complexities. I don't think we should do that. And that would be my only, not my only, but that's something I think people are misunderstanding. Like, don't try to make every case the exact same case. You're the George. Go ahead.
You nailed it. It's easy to paint with a very broad brush. It's too easy. And the problem is when you do that, you fall victim to the lack of a thought process and thinking through issues. We live in a time, Jay, where it's really easy to kill people's ability to think analytically with key buzzwords.
Yep.
And we live in the headline era, and we live in the political era, and people can't think for themselves anymore, unfortunately.
No, you're right on the button.
You know, and I'm again, I prefaced this before we started. I'm not an expert in any of these cases. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I'll give you the extent of my knowledge, and I'll give you my honest opinion. And I read the cases, and nobody is perfect. The law is not perfect. Trials are not perfect, but generally, the juries tend to get things right in these criminal cases because of the high burdens. And if you're going to put someone away for life or 35 years and charge them with murder or manslaughter, there is a high burden for a reason. And I think in these 2 cases, I think the jury got it correct. I'm not in love with the facts of either case. I feel more strongly about the Karmelo case, that the dude just shouldn't have stabbed the guy in the chest in response to a fight. I mean, he just shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I feel a little more regret for what Rick did. I really wish he didn't shoot this kid. I think the solution could have been different. But he believed he had to do what he had to do, and the jury believes him.
I agree. No, that's great, man. Thank you. Now, Madison, shout out with the 10. She says this, and I appreciate you, Madison. Thank you. Has your guest, you're talking to you, heard of the former Bachelor contestant Clayton Eckhart and the other victims, Laura Owens case, serial pregnancy faker out of Scottsdale, Arizona? Is that in your wheelhouse? I've never heard of this.
I actually have.
Oh,
And
okay.
I have. Clayton was in The Bachelor one of these seasons. He's a reality star, and
I should look that up. Okay.
unfortunately, I can't even say anything about this because
Okay.
of
Never mind.
confidentiality. But I
Oh.
do know about this case,
Oh,
so I'll leave it at that.
well, there we go. Well, thank you. Wow. I had never heard of it. Wow. Shout out for sure. And she also said I meant guest, not quest. Shout out. Thank you so much for that, Madison. I appreciate it. Now, April says this. I feel like the store clerk, we're talking about Rick Cho, should have called the police, not chased down a kid. I can't disagree.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I can't think of anything in the store that was worth your son getting a gun pointed at him or you pulling out your gun, discharging it at a 14, 15-year-old kid. There's nothing in the store that's that important. If you got him out the store, get out of the store, lock the door, call the cops, send a tape. Yeah, that's just, thank you so much, April. I appreciate it. April also became a member. Shout out to that. Thank you so much, April. Welcome to the team. Now, also, she says this with Carmelo Anthony and Austin case, for one bad decision, both families loses Austin's family more because they will never get their kid back. No argument for me. Do you think, are you okay with the 35 years, by the way, Beard?
you know, I don't know if there's a mandatory minimum sentence. You know, this gets into the question of the logic of the sentencing, and I might be speaking out of school in terms of, you know, whether it was a correct thing. Now, just from a rule of thumb standpoint, my feel on it is, look, if he has the opportunity for parole, he's a young kid and shows good behavior and can get out early and do his time, great, you know, and show rehabilitation, great, because he is young. 35 years is heavy, but so is stabbing somebody in the chest with a knife.
All right.
Under the circumstances in particular that it happened under.
Right. Let me ask you this. Let's rewind, and instead of the blade going into Austin's chest, let's say Austin saw it coming, he put up his hands and he stabbed him in his hand. I mean, went through his hand, so he pierced his hand and it was in there. But what would Karmelo have been charged with in your estimation in that event? He shoved him, Karmelo, you know, stabs him in the hand. What would he have been charged with? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, probably assault with the deadly weapon.
Yep. Okay.
You know, assault with the deadly weapon, which is a serious charge. It's a felony.
Yeah.
Probably it could have had a 5 to 10 year prison sentence as well. But he, in a way, he's lucky he didn't get a life sentence.
I agree 100%.
You know,
he could have absolutely gotten a life sentence, and I understand. Again, he's 17. There might be chance for rehabilitation. I totally get it. I was just wondering, again, if you use a deadly weapon, but it doesn't do the deed of killing somebody, how does that work? And I thought it was going to be assault with a deadly weapon. So shout out to you. April also says this is why I teach my kids, don't put your hands on in your pockets while you're in the store. And I don't let my kids go anywhere without me except to school. LOL. That's because I can't go, or I would. I'm right there with you. I just tell them, because I'm the guy, I've told this story before. I walk around the grocery store putting all my stuff in my grocery bag. I carry my grocery bag. I don't carry a cart. I don't get one of the little baskets. I put everything in my grocery bag and I walk around the store. And I'm like, I live in a predominantly mixed neighborhood. There's more white people in my hood than black. And not one person has ever stopped me to search my bag. I've never got pulled over. I've never, you know why? Because I don't be stealing. I don't. Everybody in my grocery stores know me.
And it's another reason why when you get pulled over by an officer, you keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Let me do this. No, usually on Thursdays, Beard, we do body cam bingo, and we watch body cam footage. And I found a video. Oh, you're gonna watch it with me. You're stuck now. You're gonna have to watch this because we've watched some of the worst body cams. I mean, just like take me to jail body cams. I saw one yesterday that made my heart feel good. My cold, callous heart felt warm. I said, this is exactly what we've been talking about, and I can't find it. Where'd I put it? You're gonna love it, especially if you've seen these body cams where these people do all these boneheaded stuff and get themselves put under the jail almost. This one right here will really, it was great. Okay, continue though.
Oh no.
No, okay.
That was basically my line. I mean, this is why you learn to do things in a certain sequence as a member of society, because we don't like the risk of being shot or arrested or whatever.
No, I'm right there with you. Thank you, Amethyst. She says this: all lawyers must be prudent in their ex parte public statements about cases, especially when they are not directly involved. He's not pondering, he's protecting his reputation, character, and brand. I think somebody, thank you, Amethyst, for the very kind 10 right there. Yeah, we don't want to, we don't want you, Beard, to put yourself in a position where you're saying something out of turn or looking like an expert in something that you're not truly an expert in. So no, that's what we're right there for you. What we got here? With everything going on today, this is why I go around listening to Michael Jackson's song Black and White. Thank you, April. I appreciate it. And then she came back around the bases. I did pray that if Carmelo Anthony got found guilty, that he would have a chance at parole because he is young. Yeah, I can dig it. It's just, the parents don't get their son back. So, and he was young. You know what I'm saying? So, and he'll never be able to be old. So I get it. I just don't, there's just some back and forth a little bit. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. But anything you want to add on that?
Listen, you do the crime, you do the time, and there's no question. Look, there was never a question of whether he stabbed and killed someone with a knife. That was never up for debate. He did that. The question was whether he was justified, and he was absolutely not justified. And so, yeah, he's young, and he should go away for a long time, and he should suffer, and his family should suffer because, like you said, you can't bring back the kid who's not here anymore, and his parents have to suffer. And look, the law has a tough thing to balance, right? And in this case, when a life disappears in an unjustified manner, a life sentence makes sense.
I mean, it's hard to accept, but I agree with you. I agree. And I mean, in one aspect, I agree with you. I'm hoping that he'll seek redemption and try to be offered, if he's offered parole, that he'll do something different and really make a change, unlike what his parents did, because I really think they dropped the ball in the beginning with that. Somehow or another, Beard, I don't know what I did that video. It was there's a school here in Albany, Georgia called the X School for Boys. And it's a private school, a little and a young man teaches these boys how to be industrious, how to build things, how to clean things, how to shop, how to manage their budgets. He did a video explaining what to do in a traffic stop. And it was so on the button. I'm mad I can't find it. I'm like, I thought I saved it for body cam bingo, but apparently I didn't. But he does
seen that video before,
where he gets yoked out. He does everything wrong. Yeah. He does everything wrong. He even tries to fight the cops and he gets arrested. And then he does it again where he does everything correct. And I think he does it 3 times. And he did it kind of correct. Still got pulled out of the car. But then he does everything correct. Is perfect. And I like the fact that the Albany police work with him, and they're there. They're like literally doing this as if it was a real bona fide traffic stop. Lights on, the whole nine. And I don't know what I did with that video.
Stupidity.
Right. Wait, you saying I'm stupid?
No.
No.
Sorry, bad timing. The traffic stop.
No, it is right on the button. Hold on. I'm gonna look one more time because it was a great video, and now I'm kind of mad. I thought I had it saved, but again, he just hit all the buttons of what to do in a traffic stop, and it definitely helped out. But now tell me, if you don't mind, if you didn't do defamation law, what form of law would you do?
Man, that is a great question. I would probably be an entertainment lawyer full-time. And in a way, I am an entertainment lawyer because I work with creators and I help them advance their cause and their objective into feeding their creativity to the world. But the thing is, I couldn't be a prosecutor. I couldn't be a public defender because I would be so afraid of being wrong. It's like you don't play with justice in that sense. And so, yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Interesting. Okay. No, I can dig that.
Work with creative people.
I like it. It sounds like you enjoy creative. Now, being that you are a defamation lawyer, what would you say? Let's say that everybody here on the Best Live Chat on the internet was wondering, what should we be doing or what should we not be doing? Or are there instances where you see people being real reckless and they defame without even thinking about it? What would you say? Hey, this is something to do to make sure you don't end up needing to hire me to represent you.
Yeah, I would say this. Look, don't put out content just to try to get likes. Be genuine.
Okay.
Have a cause. Try to add value. Ask yourself why you're putting out what you're putting out. In a world where people are filming everything, their dog rolling around in the grass. I mean, that sometimes that's better content than some of the things Candace Owens says, right? Like, my point is, ask why you're doing what you're doing and what purpose does it serve. I promise you'll be a better contributor to the content ecosystem. And I do agree that there's a market for everything. But at the same time, how are you serving people? At the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? We're out here talking, adding value, conveying information that's valuable, whether it's entertainment, whether it's information, factual, newsworthy, whatever category it falls in. So that's my advice. And the other thing I would say, which is more sort of a legal hard line, is this. Don't talk about things that you have no business talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Stick to the facts. If you have opinions, make sure they're opinions. And if you don't know, talk to a lawyer. Very easy.
That's reasonable. I can dig that.
Yeah.
I can dig it. What I can't dig is I can't find that video. So I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it.
I'm dying over here.
I found people commenting on it, but I don't want that. I want the.
I'm surprised I had the video. Listeners found it faster than you.
They might have. Now I think about it. I don't see anybody. If you did, if you're a moderator, put it in the group chat. But no, I like that. I like that. I'm just looking to see if they did. No, they didn't. But I do want to say thank you so much to SC Dog. Says this: if Karmelo continues to listen to his parents, he won't make parole because he'll never admit that he was wrong or show remorse. I can't argue with you. I mean, yeah. I just wish he had just apologized, just said, I'm sorry. Or even his parents, even if his parents had even, said, man, we recognize that our child has done something. Again, whether they intended to do it, nobody's arguing that. Now, we could have a discussion about why he had a knife at the track meet, but let's just pretend like knives at the track meet are normal operating procedure. We still have to admit our child did something wrong. And I think they would have went so far in helping their situation out. He done left me. But April didn't leave me. Thank you, April. Wow. You are definitely the stream sponsor, April. She says this, thank you with the 50. Sure, I look at everything, but I also am a mother of 32 boys? A mother of 3, 2 boys and 1 daughter and 1 girl. And sometimes find myself looking at it from a mother's perspective. But again, it goes back to how you are raised. Your kids, how you raise your kids. Sorry. I know I'm being silly and this is serious stuff. No, you're right on the button, April. Thank you so much for the very kind 50 and for being the stream sponsor. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. It does go to show how you raise your children. And yeah, sadly, I don't know how Karmelo was raised, and sure we could have a discussion about that, but and I've said this before, he didn't have the emotional wherewithal to make a good decision in a key moment. And this generation, and I've told people, I have teenagers. If you're raising teenagers right now, you are getting a master class in helping people, a little human, sometimes a big human, regulate their emotions, because they're just emotional wrecks. I hate to say it like that. And I got girls, so they get compounded their emotional wreckness. But you have to teach them as parents. My wife and I work to teach them how to manage their emotions and get themselves under control. Because, flying off the handle seems to be par for this generation's course.
I agree with that.
I hate it, but it just seems like, man. But all right, my friend, we'll talk offline, but we're gonna have you back again because we got to get you back on here to talk about something. You know what? It'll probably be on the 26th of July when they kick Candace's case all the way to next year sometime.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to come back sooner.
And you'll have to explain that to us then. Now you got to explain that. Like, why did they kick it to the end of the year?
That's funny.
Now, you said you would do entertainment law. Do you are you involved in entertainment, aka music and anything of that nature? Do you have any interest in that, filmmaking, anything like that out there in Arizona?
Yeah, so I'm a hobbyist guitar player. For anyone that follows me on Instagram,
really? Okay.
I've got a highlight with me playing some clips. I've played for over 25 years. I'm actually pretty good. I can play by ear almost anything I hear. So I love music. I'm also a visual artist. I love painting realism and drawing realism. I think I've got some stuff posted on my Instagram as well. So from a visual arts standpoint, I love visual arts of all sorts. I've got a real soft spot for artists of all kinds. And so I believe, because I have a personal passion for that, that I would, if I just did that kind of work, it would be very fulfilling to me. And yeah, I do get to work with creators, not as much artists, although we do work with artists when it comes to like trademark, copyright, and their internet related issues. I'm not signing artists to labels, right? I'm not doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, so we still work with creators of all kinds to protect their visual and audio assets online and their reputation online. But yeah, so I still get to dabble in some of the IP stuff that their needs demand. So that's fun.
I like that. Okay. So if I needed to copyright all my wonderful podcasts, you'd be the one I would talk to.
Yeah, you could do a compilation. You don't have to do them one by one. You could certainly file a U.S. copyright on a compilation. You could also obviously trademark your name, trademark your logo. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do.
Interesting. Well, we're going to talk offline.
For sure.
I love it. Amethyst says this, shouting it out, and we'll end it here. No body cam bingo tonight with his favorite beverage and popcorn. We'll have to have you come on, and we'll what happened is, throughout the day while I'm doing research and stuff like that, I started watching body cam footage, and it's just so fascinating, from sovereign citizens to drunk drivers to people doing some of the crazy stuff.
Sovereign citizens. We should do a whole episode on that nonsense. Oh my God.
Well, there we go. Okay. Well, now we know. All right. So we already know when you come over again, we'll do body cam bingo, sovereign citizen edition. We love it. They're a hoot, man. And we're only arresting them in the cars. We haven't gone to like them acting crazy in court. So we can just do open up a whole new genre. And so we've actually had lawyers come on and explain like DUIs and what to do. There's a lawyer here in Atlanta. She's a fantastic lawyer, and she gave advice like, what do you do if you think you had a little too many, you get pulled over, this is what you do. But what you're not going to do is, if they pull you over, you're not going to take that car home. You can just give that up. That car is going to car jail, and you are going to take this ride. So just go ahead and accept it. So yeah, I would love to have you come on and we can do sovereign citizen, body cam bingo, or court edition would be crazy. But yeah, we just started doing it, and this especially when we were watching like Candace every day, because I used to do like her show. I used to do a live reaction to her show every day, and sometimes it's like 2 hours of Candace, for 4 days a week can absolutely ruin your brain. So then we started, on Friday, just doing something different. We started body cam bingo, and it's been a hoot. So yeah, I know you'll enjoy it. So I appreciate it, my friend. I'm gonna let you go because I know I've kept you way longer than I anticipated. But I want to say thank you. Thank you so much, man, for being so gracious to give us your insight and your opinions on these things. And of course, just steering us in the right direction and answering a lot of these questions.
My pleasure.
Make sure I didn't miss something. But no, I really appreciate it. And we'll definitely have you back on. Like, I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss something. We'll have you come back on again soon. Now, enjoy you said you're gonna be here about 8 more days, you said, of traveling, or no?
I'm actually I'm headed out in 2 days from Albania. I'll be in Rome, and then I'll be back in Phoenix. So this is my last weekend here, and
I love it. Well, man, have a fantastic trip, everybody. Thank y'all so much to the Best Live Chat. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. If you're coming from the Beard Lawyers channel, thank you for stopping by tonight. Please make sure you hit the like button, all that kind of stuff. Tip your waiter on the way out the door, all that kind of stuff. If you don't mind, if the mods could just make sure we drop Beard's channel in the chat one more time. If you're not already subscribed to him, please go by and check out what he's doing. Does great work. And then also we can remind him to come for body cam bingo after he gets back stateside. But I agree right there. Thank you, Beard. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Let's get ready to get out of here. Everybody have a fantastic night. Enjoy yourselves. I will see you all tomorrow. It's Friday. We'll do Friday Night Lights, body cam bingo. We'll do it tomorrow. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you real soon. Grace and peace. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.